With 32 NFL teams all striving for the same goal, there are going to be teams at different levels of accomplishing this goal, which of course is to win a Super Bowl. Some, like the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills, are very close, and in Kansas City's case, they could make it their second title in 4 years. But for every team like the Chiefs or Bills, there are teams in the complete opposite situation. Some of these teams are rebuilding and look to have a bright future ahead of them, like the Detroit Lions. Others are just flat out losing games, and they had intentions of winning a Super Bowl this year or to make a very deep postseason run. Yet here we are in early December, and these teams are nowhere close to the postseason, let alone winning multiple games in the postseason. And in today's video, we are going to discuss 3 of the biggest dumpster fires in the NFL at the moment. We are going to dive in how they got here and realistically what they can do moving forward. And there's a lot to dive into within each team, and without further ado, let's begin. And we are going to start today's video with the New Orleans Saints. They entered 2022 with high expectations after a 2021 season in which they had their ups and downs. They had the 4th best scoring defense a year ago and gave up an average of just 19.7 points per game. They also had the 10th most takeaways in 2021 compared to being dead last in 2022. They forced 25 turnovers in 17 games a year ago, compared to just 7 in 12 games this year, and this is one of several reasons as to why the Saints are having such a bad year compared to last. It also doesn't help the Saints are giving up an average of 4.5 yards per carry in 2022 versus 3.7 last year. That was the best in the NFL, and they gave up the 4th fewest rushing yards out of any NFL team. And nearly a full yard per carry difference is astronomical, and it's even more of a difference when you can't create turnovers to get the defense off the field. This probably isn't a surprise because they have the least amount of turnovers as a defense, but they also have the least amount of interceptions of any team in the NFL, as opposing quarterbacks have thrown just 2 interceptions in 12 games. They also average just 20.8 points per game offensively, which is in the lower third of the NFL, and when you can't put up points, can't create turnovers, and are tied with the Colts for leading the league in turnovers, it should not come as a surprise that the Saints are a 4-8 team. Their wins are over Atlanta in what was a comeback win over a team led by Marcus Mariota and a team that will more than likely miss the playoffs for the 5th consecutive season. Credit the Saints in a big way for their win over Seattle, as Taysom Hill had the game of a lifetime as he had 4 total touchdowns, including 3 rushing. That was a true team win and the best offensive game they've played all year. Their 3rd win was against the Raiders in a shutout win, which was a great win. Shutouts in the NFL do not happen by accident, so New Orleans deserves a ton of credit for that. But their 4th win was against the Rams in a game Matthew Stafford got hurt and Bryce Perkins came in to finish the game. The biggest thing for New Orleans is, and why they are in today's video aside from underachieving, is their 1st round pick in 2023 is in the hands of the Philadelphia Eagles, and it's a pick they could very much use at the moment. I don't think Saints fans would disagree when I say Dennis Allen is not the long-term answer, and obviously the quarterback situation isn't either. So realistically, what are they going to do this offseason for a quarterback and head coach situation? Not having their 1st round pick and being in cap hell, like they always are, is not going to make top-tier head coaching candidates say, yes, I want to go rebuild the Saints. The Michael Thomas situation is something else entirely on its own, but it adds to the problem the Saints have. They don't have a 1st round pick, they do not have a lot of cap room, and I am aware they will figure something out regarding the cap space, they always do, but the 1st round pick in a year they need it would go a long way. I don't think 2023 will be much better for them, and at minimum think they are a year away from seriously competing. Meaning, I think they're going to finish 2022 and 23 both around 6 to 8 wins, miss the playoffs, and because of the players they have on their roster, be good enough to not get a top 5 pick and a real franchise quarterback, or even have the opportunity to draft a franchise quarterback. And because of all of this, they are in this fill the glass the rest of the way or dump it out and start over area. And that is one of the worst situations a franchise can be in. From the Big Easy, we go to the Mile High City to discuss the Denver Broncos, and there's no easy way to discuss this. There's no cushion, there's no, well, if this happens, there's nothing. It's been an absolutely awful season, and now we're at the point where people are legitimately keeping a tracker on how many touchdowns Russell Wilson throws this year, and if he can throw more touchdowns than what he has bathrooms in his house. For the record, he has 8 passing touchdowns to 12 bathrooms in his home. That's the type of year it's been, and within the past week, there was Russell Wilson's birthday situation and how half of his teammates didn't go to his 34th birthday party. So yeah, it's been a year for Denver. I do want one thing to be clear though, as a lot of people love adding wood to the fire or attempt to add wood to the fire, but it is more than Russell Wilson not playing good. There's a multitude of factors within this, including head coach Nathaniel Hackett. No, they're not playing good football by any means, and their season is over, but there's things that the Broncos can fix that would give them a hell of a lot better of a chance at winning games. The in-game clock management from Nathaniel has been horrible, and the Broncos have played a lot this year on primetime, so unfortunately for Broncos fans, the mistakes at times are amplified, and we revert back to the Week 1 game against Seattle when Nathaniel opted to let 40 seconds of the clock run off to attempt a game-winning 64-yard field goal instead of trusting his quarterback, in which the franchise gave up multiple first-round picks and players for. That was just one example. Aside from poor clock management, the Broncos lead the NFL in penalties, and by pretty much every metric, they are a poorly coached team. And when you think of poorly coached teams, you think of undisciplined, you think of bad clock management, which the Broncos have plenty of, and last but not least, you think of underperforming players, which again Denver has a lot of. Their last win came in October against the Jaguars in London, and while the Jags just had a great come-from-behind win against the Ravens, this team is coming off of back-to-back number 1 overall picks, which does not happen by accident. And their bye week was immediately after the Jacksonville game, and in the 3 games since, buckle up guys, because this is a stat. The Broncos are 11 for 43 on third down since their Week 9 bye. They have 157 points on the year, which is dead last, and they are averaging just 14.2 points per game. And that's a shame, because their defense is a Super Bowl caliber defense. But what I fear for most for Denver, and why they are in today's video, is the mental toll this takes on players. Giving everything they have, and then some, and for one side of the football to be as good as they have been, not just for a few games, but all season, and to be 3-8, have your quarterback routinely get mocked and made fun of, and you're going to miss the playoffs, and your head coach will be fired after Week 18 because they are not doing a good job. And to salvage some of this, they traded star pass rusher Bradley Chubb for a first-round pick. I firmly believe if this team is contending, Bradley is still a Bronco gearing up for a Super Bowl run. But because of this, they had to do something. So from guys' morale to the big trade of Russell Wilson and a bad head coach hire, the Denver Broncos are in one of the worst situations in all of football. Next up is the Green Bay Packers, and this isn't to say they're going to be a 2-15 team or a 5-12 team in the next few years, as much as it is to say they have locked themselves into having an aging Aaron Rodgers as their starting quarterback for at least one more year and possibly 2. There are a lot of people speculating on whether or not he will retire this offseason, and I think there is a 99.99% chance he does not, and it's due to one thing: money. He is owed a ton of money next year and the ensuing as well, and will want to play this contract out. At least I would like to think he would. Because of the large cap hits for Rodgers, he's going to be there for the next few years, as no team would want to trade for an aging quarterback, and as I record this, he is now officially 39 years old. And by the way, because I'm sure this will come up, I don't blame the Packers for extending a quarterback who was coming off of 3 straight 13-win seasons and back-to-back MVPs, and a player who had 85 passing touchdowns to 9 interceptions in the previous 2 years. They weren't going to let him become a free agent, and as we saw this past off-season, they declined every offer there was for Aaron. But with Rodgers aging, there's naturally going to be a decline in his play, especially next year when he hits the big 4-0. To make matters worse for the Packers, Aaron in a lot of ways is untradeable. He has a full no-trade clause in his contract, meaning he can decline any trade that is agreed on between the teams simply because he wouldn't want to play somewhere else, or specifically whichever team that would come calling for his services. Within this, I don't think anybody would call for Rodgers because of how much money he is owed over the next few years, and the most common team at the time of this video release that's linked to this is the New York Jets. But they're going to have to pay players of their own like Quinnen Williams, for example. And even then, I don't think the Jets would give up the asking price for Rodgers. Although their lack of offensive success in 2022 compared to 2021 is noticeable, all of it cannot be attributed to Davante Adams becoming a Raider. But the concept of Rodgers not having a true number 1 receiver this year compared to last has made a big difference. Their red zone success in 2022 versus 2021 has made a difference as well, and they've dropped a few games you simply would not expect the Green Bay Packers to lose. The biggest one was in Detroit in a game Rodgers threw 3 interceptions, Green Bay put up just 9 points, and Lions rookie Aiden Hutchinson had an interception on a pass that was intended for left tackle David Bakhtiari. And the Packers are going to have Rodgers for the next few years, due in large part to his contract. The Packers' goal isn't to play for a wild card spot or to lose in the divisional round. Their goal each and every year is to get Rodgers his 2nd ring, and that's a goal they've been striving for over a decade now. But with an aging quarterback's contract that gets uglier as time goes on, and a team that's more than likely not going to be able to beat a team like the San Francisco 49ers when it matters most in any of the next few years, I think the Packers are in a situation where in 2022 and 2023, they're looking at a season with 7 to 9 wins in each year and no clear direction to turn. They're in a very interesting situation moving forward. They also have Jordan Love to factor into all of this as well, and I truly can't wait to see what not just Green Bay does, but New Orleans and Denver as well moving forward. And that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel as it would mean the world. And until next time, as always, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.